Why the hell should I trust you? Why should I trust anybody in our government right now when this is what's happening to me? I paid my tax dollars. I did my part. I did everything I was supposed to do. I voted for Harris. I voted for you. I did everything right. Why am I suffering? Why am I not allowed to live?
Mm-hmm.
And that was the first question. Instead of staying home and just kind of existing, I figured, hey, why not go to one of these? There was one happening within like an hour of my house. Perfect timing. Let's go. This one was called Musk or Us, and it was hosted by Nikema Williams, who is representative of District 5 in Georgia. And I have some thoughts on what I witnessed here. So I started a whole thread of this on Blue Sky. If you want the details for everything that went on during this town hall, please go check that out. This is definitely not me advertising my Blue Sky. It definitely totally is. But I said, you know, the beginning of this is a Democrat coming on stage to tell us that we have Medicare, Medicaid, and SNAP benefits all on the chopping block, stuff that anybody who's plugged into politics already knows. And then she had two experts with her to be sounding boards as well. One named Eric, who was an expert in why is my brain blanking? Who's an expert in constitutional law, and another person who I believe was a epidemiologist. I don't remember the exact. No. Epidemiologist was later, but there were two experts there for talking about different things as well. All right, the last one was more focused on kids in Georgia, specifically. Her name was Laura. She was from Georgians for a Better Future. So in terms of bringing people to talk about things that were important, she did do that for the first 30 minutes. And then the next hour was questions and answers. And this is where things got a little out of hand. And holy shit. So the first question from the audience, there was a gentleman who was about my age, it seemed. And he got up and he just held up a piece of paper and said, "Do you know what this is?" He was in the front row, so Miss Williams was able to read it. And it was the denial of all of his medications and Medicaid dropping him because of the recent budget cuts.
Mm-hmm.
And he noted that one of his medications he needs to live is $1,000 a month. The other one is $300 a month, and he has been dropped off of everything. Now, if you're not in the States, we have a program that is supposed to help with this called Cobra. Anybody who's used Cobra can promise you it's the worst fucking thing on the goddamn planet. You know how when you have insurance, your medication prices go up? Again, this is not a thing most people know, but if you look at your prices, Saki, without insurance, was paying $160 for estradiol. With insurance, $300 for estradiol. But insurance covers it, so there's that. Cobra steps in to be your insurance, basically, but it asks you to pay all the premiums, and it keeps the higher negotiated prices with all of your medications. So if you have a $1,000 medication on insurance, that would have dropped to like $500 without insurance. If you have Cobra, yeah, you're insured, quote, quote, but it's still costing you that $1,000. Everybody who's used Cobra can tell you it is one of the worst goddamn things on the planet. Basically, we have a program that's supposed to fix this. It doesn't fix this, but Republicans get to point to it and say we have a program that fixes this. Anyway, he said, first, for all the Trump voters, is this what you wanted? But then afterwards, he looked at Miss Williams and said, but for you, why the hell should I trust you? Why should I trust anybody in our government right now when this is what's happening to me? I paid my tax dollars. I did my part. I did everything I was supposed to do. I voted for Harris. I voted for you. I did everything right. Why am I suffering? Why am I not allowed to live?
Mm-hmm.
And that was the first question. There was a moment later where in the middle of another question, a lady sitting right in front of me stepped up and broke everything to basically go on a 5-minute tirade about how Musk stole the election, and she's done all this research that shows that he stole the election. The research did not actually show that. Listening just to how she explained it, she only came up with 4 million votes, which was still not enough for Harris to have won the election. But still, the feeling of Democrats didn't do their part in making sure that we had a free and fair election, because a lot of the conversation here was about how we'll get them next time. We need a free and fair election to stop all the bad things from happening. And then you can tell how that would get somebody who's made this their passion project really fucking angry, going, why the fuck do you think this was a free and fair election? A billionaire bankrolled the damn thing. There were several people who spoke here. One of them was an epidemiologist who said that as an epidemiologist, one of her jobs as a PhD epidemiologist is not to look at the fact that a sickness is in an area, but to look at what the underlying goal of the sickness is and the underlying cause of the sickness is. So, like, the underlying goal of a sickness matters because if we're looking at something like COVID, it is a sickness that cannot try to kill you, else it cannot propagate. If the sickness's goal is to just kill you, the sickness will stop being in the population after a very short period of time. But she said that because of all of that research, because of what she had done for a living, she is thoroughly convinced that Make America Great Again is just an attempt to make America white again, which I did mention before the show. District 5 is in a very urban area of Atlanta, so most of the population here was black. Makes sense that would be a focus. But it also makes perfect sense because that's kind of what Christian nationalism aims for anyway.
Wasn't there I forget whether it was Trump or Musk, but one of them like just came right out and said essentially that oh no, okay, it wasn't said. It was Trump repealed the executive order that ended segregation in federal contractors.
Fennec says I was reading Suris's thread during this, and it was a fucking ride. There was another question from a member of the audience that said, "Can Trump be impeached?" And Miss Williams had to respond.
He could be if either the Democrats would need to all have a spine, and we need a few Republicans to also have a spine for that to happen.
Because the issue is not impeaching Trump. You can impeach Trump 1 billion times. What you need is for there to be
a conviction in the Senate.
You need the conviction in the Senate, and for the conviction in the Senate, you need a 60% majority. And we have not been able to manage anything even approaching that in a very, very long time. Again, I don't want to get into every single thing that happened here.
Like there already have been multiple articles of impeachment filed against him.
Yeah, but they're not going to do anything. Like this, our Congress is limp-dicked here. So it said, what, Trump repealed desegregation? I'm confused. What? Oh, maybe you could give some context for that.
Trump repealed the executive order that ended that ended segregation in for federal contractors.
Yay.
That's all the context that I have. I'm just like, so for me, that's like, it's basically them saying, we're going to drop the pretext and just say out loud that it's about making things white again.
Yeah.
Like, what other reason would there be for repealing that? Like, it's an executive order. Executive orders don't have the, pork fatting of I'm trying to sneak this thing through while nobody's looking. It's, I'm the president, do what I say.
Yeah, Sarah Chikorita clarified my statement. It's 60% to get an impeachment on the floor. It's then 2/3 to actually convict through the trial after that. Basically all to say, the only people with any power over Trump right now are the courts. Period. Those are the only people with any power over Trump right now, and even then...
Fucking Roberts came out and spoke out against him. Like when, what issue was it on?
It's been a few things. Him and Barrett both.
There've been so many, and every one is like a huge deal. Like all of our stories, except for one tonight, are about Canada and the Canada-U.S. relations, because there's just so many and this isn't even scratching the surface of all the crap that's going on. Um, on the lighter side, though, I now have a new soundbite to use whenever we have technical difficulties.
Everything's computer.
Everything's computer.
Everything's computer, and of course followed up with,
I love Tesla.
I love Tesla.
I love Tesla. Everything computer.
The end of this town hall meeting was...
Oh yeah, it was the kicking off a judge. So Trump was calling for the impeachment of a judge that blocked one of his EOs.
Which you're technically not allowed to do.
Yeah, no, that's a big no-no. And that actually got Roberts to be like, hey, you shouldn't do that. And like, that's not a thing that the Supreme Court does very often. So I feel like at least a couple of the conservative ones are starting to kind of regret what they gave him, the power that they gave him.
I mean, literally, a question that was asked by one of the liberal judges was, if Trump decided to assassinate somebody, and then you just have them going, I think it was Clarence Thomas who was just like, yeah, that's fine. No, it's not fine. What the fuck is wrong with all of you? The end of the town hall. Again, there's a lot more stuff that happened besides that. But the end of the town hall was one much older lady, I think like 70s, who said that she has been a protester for most of her life. She has been a card-carrying Democrat since 74 and has been having to fight for her rights from that moment till now, and said, it's time for you to put your boots on the ground, put your feet to the street. This congresswoman can't handle everything. She can't fight every battle, which on the one hand, yes, you're right. On the other hand, I don't fucking care. She still should be doing, all of them should be doing a better job. Williams made a big fuss about, I was one of the ones who walked out during one of Trump's speeches. Like, congratulations, you did that. Now what have you done for the people of District 5 as they're losing their Medicare? Anyway, this person pointed out, you need to put your boots to the ground, you need to get on the street, you need to protest in multiple cities, and that she'll be having a protest from 11 to 12 in the Atlanta Capitol, specifically protesting House Bill 397 this Saturday. So if anybody is wanting to go to that, that is a thing that I suggest doing, because as much as I've said protests don't do anything, they do put you in contact with people around you who are willing to get up and do things. And most importantly, they allow you to have conversations with people that are not on Facebook, Discord, all these other places that are, let's be honest at this point, really, really, really highly monitored. Because after what's happened recently with Mahmoud Khalil, you might want to be a little careful with how you protest. So
speak along similar lines. So I was excited this year. I was invited to speak at the annual Ark Encounter protest, and I said yes to that. I just emailed the organizer today to be like, hey, unless things make a really big change for the better in the next couple of months, I am not comfortable crossing the border. And her response was, yeah, I get it. I'm based in Ontario too. I might not be going either.
Yeah.
So like, this is it. And like, I used to have my Nexus card where like I could just hop across the border anytime I wanted with minimal security. They'd barely ask any questions. Several times a week, I'd be over in Buffalo, just like taking kids to the science center, buying gas because it was cheaper. Dairy products were usually cheaper. I don't think the eggs are cheaper anymore. I think we went on the eggs now. But yeah, I used to cross the border all the time, at least once or twice a week. We had memberships at the Buffalo Zoo and the Buffalo Science Center, so we take the kids there all the time. And I'm not comfortable crossing anymore. Like there have been Canadians detained by ICE. And one of them was detained because she was applying for a work visa, and the paper that she had didn't have company letterhead on it. So they were like, "Oh, that's suspicious. You're under arrest."
What?
Yeah, and they detained her for 2 weeks for that.
For no, that's literally for no reason.
Yeah.
That is so
I'm
you're
like,
familiar with the term
I see
papers,
that, and
please, right?
I'm like, yeah, I see that, and I'm like, you know what? Hundreds to thousands of people cross that border every fucking day. It probably won't happen to me, but if it does, I can't spend 2 weeks in jail over nothing.
No, you can't.
I got a family to take care of. And clueless experts point out, didn't a French newspaper just report today that some French researcher got denied entry into the U.S. because he was critical about Trump's science cuts on social media? Maybe.
That's fucking terrifying.
Because I've been critical about Trump on social media. Very, very critical. Yeah, please do not cross the border. I don't want Suris' next crowdfunding goal to be your legal defense fund. No, I'm not crossing the border. I'm not going into the States right now.
Although,
like I said, unless it gets significantly better, I'm just not going.
Yeah,
and I'm not alone in this. Like I have a friend who I have permission to share this story, but she wants to remain anonymous. But she's from the UK. She has her green card, and she goes back to visit family once a year. And right now they are planning the next visit. They're planning it such that like they're basically assuming that she's going to be denied entry back into the States because that's what's happening to a lot of green card holders right now. So that they are planning around that for their next family visit. And they are planning long-term to just move out of the States. So.
Which is, again, a crazy thing for people to do who are here legally and should be allowed to operate legally in the country. But again, we've seen this shit happen very recently where, oh, you're a little too critical of Trump. I guess that means you're going to get separated from your family. This is what happened to Mahmoud Khalil. This is exactly what happened to him. He was a little too critical. And so they went, nope, you were doing an anti-Semitism because you don't like genocide happening in Palestine. That means you're going to get in trouble. And can I just say, it's a stroke of genius. It is a stroke of genius. Evil genius, but still a stroke of genius to use the anti-Semitism label on this shit. That way, anybody who is a very low information voter, which is most of Trump's base, will see that and go, wait, I thought y'all liberals didn't like people being anti-Semitic.
Hey, thanks for making the
you'd be
video.
on board with something
really
like this.
Aw,
do you not like it happening when it happens to one of your own?
Especially
like,
those of you who
man,
support me on.
And then
it
they'll
is
all
an
turn
evil
around and
fucking
to
genius
thank
plot.
all of you who
Did you see the reaction on Twitter to the JFK files being released?
No, I didn't.
Really
I'm
cannot.
not on
there are
Twitter
a few
anymore.
mentions of the Israeli Secret
Each and
Service.
every one of you.
And so
Those
they're
people
all
would
being
be
like,
Red
oh,
Joker,
Israel
Purple Poundini,
assassinated
Gentian,
JFK.
Blitzkrieg, Jupe the Malignant,
Like
Michael,
everybody,
Raveler,
especially Nick Fuentes. Nick Fuentes didn't.
Astral
like,
Frontier,
some of them tried to
Dale's
dance around
Atonement,
it. Nick Fuentes
Nixie
did
Chan,
not.
Kiri Artemis, of course, he Victorian
Oh,
doesn't have Alchemist,
to.
Sagittarius. I'm not saying
Yeah.
the last part
He's
of that, and you know that.
He
never
Lil
dances
Uzi
around
Vert.
anything other
Nick
than the
Fuentes.
cooking question. Arc-Lacier, Curatorian, Dren
So,
Hadamada,
it's,
Jordan M, John
it's kind
L,
of terrifying.
Lord
But
Bleck,
in some good
Smiling
news for
Game
Canada
Master,
anyway,
and Fireshard.
Thank you so very much. But since you're here, why not go ahead and try watching another one? There should be one that's on the screen right now. And if you are a patron of mine, I wanted to go ahead and thank you again for all of your support. There is still a video you could press though, if you'd like. I would appreciate it just a little bit.